Hi, my name is Melanie Gross, and today I'm going to be talking to you about the instructional model PI, Plan, Implement, Evaluate. This is a classroom instructional design model. What is PI and where did it come from? Well, as I said on my first slide, PI is an instructional design model that is primarily used in classroom settings by teachers who are teaching the same students that they are evaluating and designing programs for. PI stands for Plan, Implement, and Evaluate. The plan portion encompasses three different components of ADDIE, which is Analyze, Design, and Develop. And then it still has that Implement and Evaluate portion. PI was developed in 2000 by designers Newby, Stybach, Lyman, and Russell. It can be adapted for many different instructional scenarios, but it is most commonly used by classroom teachers. This is the model that is typically used when you see PI referred to, and it starts with the big chunk for plan and two equal chunks for implementing and evaluating. Planning is the portion of the model that should take the most amount of time because that is where you're having to plan out all of your instruction, your evaluation, what these are going to take, and how you're going to do it. Your implementing and evaluating course should take similar processes of time because while you want to spend a lot of time implementing and making sure they're effective, you also want to look at those processes and evaluate with just as much sincerity. I'm going to briefly go through those little stages of PI and give some examples. So the first one is plan. You want to break down each category of a matrix to see how you can be the most effective. This is a sample matrix that I have created. Gufferson in the book gives an example of this as well, but they do not give questions to go along with that. So I made some questions to help it be more clear. So under your matrix, you want to have learners, the teacher, and the instructional technology that you would use. And then on the side, you want to have planning, implementing, and evaluating. In the middle of the matrix, you are going to fill in each of those boxes with questions you might ask. As I said before, these are just questions that I have come up with that fit for me. So you could make them work for whatever program you are developing. Some examples of those might be, what do learners know? What do they need to know? What materials are available as a teacher? And then how can you use instructional technology to assist you in your planning process? For implementing, you're going to want to ask questions of learners of how will they know they have it? How will I manage my classroom? And how can I use technology to increase the impact of the lesson? In the evaluation stage, you're going to say, was the instruction on the right level? Do I need remediation or enrichment activities? And how can I use technology to measure effectiveness? When you're planning, it can be harder to answer the evaluating questions because a lot of those questions are going to come from the data that you have created. But you want to go ahead and look at it when you're planning to see what you need to look at ahead of time. Implementing is the actual delivery of your lesson. This is the area where the instructor uses the guide that they've made to guide learners through the lesson. You're also going to want to use instructional technology to help engage them in digital learning components. And evaluate is our last part. When you're evaluating students' learning, you want to make sure that you are not just evaluating them, but also yourself, because you are the person that not only developed the program, but also the one that was leading the instruction for the program in PI. They're typically not given by people that do not develop them. So it helps you decide on both instructional practices and the development of the lessons when you evaluate them. You want to look for praises and polishes in those. What did I do well? What do I want to teach again? And what would I leave out next time? Some real world examples of how you could use PI. I am going to go through slides where I have developed a lesson for an elementary science classroom on uses of energy, but There are definitely other uses of Pi and how you could use that in the classroom. Some of those ways are creating professional developments for staff or developing learning programs for families to help them understand things in your school like Common Core. Here's an example of that planning matrix I discussed earlier, but in this example, I have filled out how I would plan and how I would use this to help me answer those questions. So when you write the questions in here, you don't just want to write the questions, you want to go back and then answer them when you are planning. So I have broken it down for those learners, teachers, and instructional technology for this planning portion. For the learners, I just said, what do they already know? My students already know about different forms of energy, and I have listed their objectives for what do they need to know based on this lesson today. What materials do I have available to teach the lesson? I have Chromebooks and a simulation app that I can use for the digital components of this lesson. I also have support with solar panels and different pieces of technology they can use to build. We have workbooks, we have peer support in our classroom, and we also have a reference book. How can technology assist me? This is in the planning portion. So I didn't want to put Chromebooks or simulation or anything in this part, even though that is an assist. We want to look at how can technology support you in planning. For my school, a digital plan book to share plans with my team. There are 4 of us that teach science. So instead of having to just plan bits and pieces, we can rely on each other. Instead of having to plan that out, it's all digital. We can log in and see each other's plans. We could use internet to research and hyperlink sources as needed for our lessons. The implementing portion is just where I am planning out what I'm going to do when I teach this class. I've listed what the learners will know and how they know they'll know it. And that's know I have it when, and I list out their success criteria. I can describe 6 energy sources and explain which energy would be best to supplement for our school. How am I going to manage the classroom as a teacher? We're going to start off using slides to guide the lesson, showing videos, having students talk with partners, using Chromebooks, talking, and then using GoFormative to type. We'll use technology by using the projector, videos, digital reference books. For students who are struggling to read those hands-on reference books, it'll help adapt and level the simulation for them as well. In the implementation of the lesson, I'm going to work really hard to engage my learners by connecting their background knowledge to what they already know and using technology to enhance our lesson with videos to build more background knowledge. They're going to discuss, build knowledge, and allow learners to connect information by building experiences with classmates. And then last, they're going to apply. Using technology to allow learners to apply their learning helps it be more effective because they're able to connect in this 21st century digital world we are living in. In the implementation period, it is a lot of teacher facilitation. I listed that I was going to have that piece of instructional technology, but you want to make sure that that's not all you're relying on. You are there as an instructor to help them learn. You don't just want to put them on some kind of app or give them some slides to read. You want to make sure that you're facilitating the learning as they go along. The last part of Pi is the evaluation piece. For my evaluation, I took that part of the matrix and put it on here. So I still have my learners, teacher, and instructional technology. And you want to look at, was the instruction at the right level? This is based on your evaluation data and how did your learners perform? Do I need remediation or enrichment activities? And then I've planned out what examples of those are. So for this lesson, I could use small groups for remediation, and we could discuss the 6 sources and what are the different resources in our area that they might be able to use so that they could work as a group to come up with the best idea. For enrichment, we could allow them to play energy games or write a proposal to the school requesting alternative forms of energy. And how can I use technology to measure the effectiveness? Learners could record their responses on GoFormative for immediate feedback. This app allows you to see in real time what the learners are writing so that you can either give them feedback or correct some things if they are incorrect or enrich them if they are. When you're looking at evaluation, you're not just looking at those learners' performance. Their progress is a reflection of your instruction. So you want to ask yourself, how could I make this better if I were to teach it again? Or what would I leave out next time? If 80% of more of your students are successful, then you've done a great job. 79% to 50%, well, we need some remediation. 50% or lower, then we should redevelop the lesson. To recap the steps of PI, we have step 1, plan. The first step is for instructors to plan for the lesson. Step 2, implement, teaching the course. It needs to be done in a classroom setting. Step 3, evaluate. Evaluate includes not just those students learning, but also the instructor's effectiveness. The resources I used were Jefferson and Branch, classroom-oriented models in instructional models, and to say instructional design models. This presentation template was created using SlidesGo, including Favicon. Thank you very much.